While Marvel has grown beyond belief and made many artists, writers, and their creations household names around the world, it's not all sunshine and X-Men. A number of people have run afoul of the company over the years, intentionally or otherwise, and have suffered some pretty devastating fates as a result. Jessica Alba. The Fantastic Four is an exceptionally weird Marvel property. Started in 1961, it was the first big superhero team book under the Marvel label. 4 different Fantastic Four films have been produced, and every one of them was terrible. In 2 of those films, Jessica Alba played the role of Sue Storm. Alba later said Rise of the Silver Surfer made her want to stop acting, explaining how awful it was working with the movie's director, who asked her to do things like look prettier when she cried. It all drove her to the point where she had no interest in being in the business anymore.
It was really uncomfortable for me.
Of course, Alba has plenty of money, and she didn't fully leave showbiz. She's also been in more than her fair share of poorly received movies, but the fact that she singled out Fantastic Four as the movie that seemed to break her spirit is certainly no badge of honor for Marvel. Gary Friedrich. In Marvel's quest to create new and interesting stuff, writer Gary Friedrich came up with an idea for a new character in 1972, a motorcycle-riding daredevil who becomes the flamey-skulled hero Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider has endured since the 1970s and even got 2 turns on the big screen with Nicolas Cage in the lead role. The first movie actually made around $230 million worldwide. That's a lot of green, and Friedrich wanted a piece. In 2007, Friedrich filed a lawsuit claiming Ghost Rider's rights reverted to him in 2001, and therefore Marvel owed him big time. A judge disagreed, saying Friedrich handed over the rights when he endorsed certain checks that said the rights belonged to Marvel. Oops.
Looks like trouble just found you.
Instead of getting money, Friedrich was countersued by Marvel for what they said was his unauthorized use of their character. He had to pay the company $17,000 and agree to stop selling Ghost Rider merch at conventions, and even stop promoting himself as Ghost Rider's creator for financial gain. A settlement was finally reached in 2013, 5 years before Friedrich passed away. Matt Salinger. In 1990, Marvel fans got Captain America starring Matt Salinger, a film that is still infamous today for its unadulterated awfulness. Salinger, son of author J.D. Salinger, has gone on record about how preposterous the whole experience of making the film was. Shoots were canceled and rescheduled, and eventually they ran out of money.
It seems the Americans have made a poor choice for their champion.
Salinger told GQ that, though he's not bitter, his experience with Captain America was a good example of how, as an actor, you're powerless to make a good movie, leading him to move toward producing. While the Red Skull was unable to defeat Captain America on the screen, bad filmmaking did the job behind the scenes. Dolph Lundgren. Everyone knows Dolph Lundgren's name. He had probably his most iconic role ever in Rocky IV as Ivan Drago, and then a memorable follow-up as He-Man. In 1989, Lundgren made The Punisher, and it's worth noting that, aside from a handful of forgotten flicks, the next time most people saw Lundgren in theaters was in 2010's The Expendables. That's a big gap. This movie didn't ruin Lundgren's career outright. He kept doing direct-to-video movies pretty steadily for decades, but it arguably stopped his time as a big-screen movie star. The Punisher was a big disappointment, drawing only weak reviews, and the production was a mess. Den of Geek blamed a small budget, script rewrites, and all kinds of corners being cut that meant the movie was pretty much destined to fail and take Lundgren with it.
And there you have it.
Lea Thompson. Even as the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in the midst of its box office domination, one distinguished actress has been long overlooked. Lea Thompson has claimed to be the first queen of Marvel, and it's a defensible position. Howard the Duck was the first big-screen Marvel movie back in 1986, and Lea Thompson was the human lead. Unfortunately, the movie tanked hard. Considered one of the worst movies ever made, Howard the Duck did no favors for Thompson. She revealed to CBR in an interview that she'd been bullied for years over her role in the film. Even though she later scored a role in the John Hughes movie Some Kind of Wonderful, her career trajectory couldn't recover. There were simply no more lead roles after Howard the Duck besides a stint on a mid-90s sitcom. Truly, those early attempts at Marvel movies were not all they were quacked up to be. Jack Kirby. Marvel Comics is Jack Kirby. That cannot be denied. These days, a lot of people recognize Stan Lee as the face of the comics giant, but some of that can be chalked up to Lee's incredible skill at self-promotion. Kirby was the artistic tour de force who helped Lee invent Marvel's massive stable of characters and bring them to life on the page. At the very least, he deserves a full 50% of the credit for what Lee is famous for, and arguably did much more. As protege Mark Evanier put it,
Jack Kirby doesn't have a place in comic book history. He kind of is comic book history.
Together with a few others, they created what are now the icons of comic books: Hulk, Captain America, Thor, and literally hundreds more. But Kirby was a work-for-hire employee. He worked out of his own house, bought his own supplies, and was paid per page as they were accepted, according to The Hollywood Reporter. He got no benefits, no time off, and he certainly wasn't part of the multi-billion-dollar enterprise it is today. Jack Kirby died in 1994. It wasn't until 2014 that Marvel, heading off a case that was on its way to the Supreme Court, finally settled with Kirby's heirs.